CNIB Deafblind Community Services. Our history.
John M. Rafferty, President and CEO, CNIB.
Our history is wonderful, but sometimes it's a little bit strange when you think of it in today's context. I mean, when we began as an organization, when Helen Keller made her speech many years ago in the 20s, people who are blind and people who are deafblind were not allowed to vote in Canada.
Santo Caladonna, client, with his intervener, Rosita Foley.
There must have been so much suffering, no technology, no braille, no nothing, to be completely unaware. Can you imagine what kind of life that they were going through?
Maureen O'Brien, Specialist, Intervention, CNIB Deafblind Community Services.
It was based on parents of deafblind children wanting services for their children, and it seems to be mostly in the social aspect is where it started.
The ability to be able to communicate in their community, to be able to interact with essential services, to be able to do daily essential tasks, shopping, medical appointments, etc.
Betty Leeson, Director, Operations, CNIB Deafblind Community Services.
Back in 1958, Marjorie McGuffin Wood was hired by CNIB.
Sherry Grabowski, Executive Director, CNIB Deafblind Community Services.
She was an advocate before her time. So basically, Marjorie identified that there needed to be some kind of communication with the other deafblind people who live throughout Canada.
She created a newsletter for deafblind people called Dots and Taps.
And then she put it in the mail, and she would mail it to a deafblind person on her mailing list, and then that person would mail it to another deafblind person. And that's how the newsletter actually got circulated throughout Canada.
In the 60s, May Brown approached CNIB, and with the help of the Ladies Auxiliary, she established a social group. It was called the Hand Highway Club.
May was one of these people that just had ideas and desires and plans, and she knew what she wanted and she knew what she wanted to achieve way back then.
And she wanted to spend her life advocating and supporting deafblind people across the country and deafblind people across Ontario.
And we hired an intervener to work with May Brown by the name of Joe McTavish, who pioneered intervener services.
So unfortunately, when May died suddenly, Joan had been her intervener and had seen the passion and where May would have taken that. And so she stepped up as the advocate for May and wanted to take her ideas forward.
A lot of activity happened in the 1970s.
So CNIB in the early 70s was interested in expanding services for deafblind people across the country. Joan McTavish, in her position as coordinator of deafblind services in Ontario, wanted to make a difference to deafblind people. She started doing studies across the province to find out what deafblind people needed. What did they need to be independent members of the community?
So that was a major breakthrough for us to actually be able to show what were our needs here in Ontario, what did we need to develop. And then we hired Carrie Wadman.
It was through Carrie Wadman and Joan McTavish's influence that the government agreed to provide enough funding for deafblind people across Ontario to have 3 hours of intervener services per week.
So in 1987, we started the literacy program with Julie Reed, which was an amazing program for our clients as well to have.
They could learn to read better, to write better. They could increase their communication skills. It was also recognized in the 80s that there was a need for specialized training for people who were going to be working as interveners.
We needed an intervener program, and we were so fortunate that the George Brown College started that program.
So in 2013, the government provided funding to establish emergency services for deafblind people across Ontario,
which is an amazing program. Our intervener would meet that client at the hospital and help with that communication between the hospital staff and the person who's ill.
Emergency services, I think they're good for clients, especially a lot of senior clients. You know, there's a lot of health problems.
Penny Leclerc, CNIB Deafblind Community Services Board Member.
You have less control in medical situations than you would anywhere else.
I mean, it is an absolute godsend for people, and unfortunately where we are right now in Canada, it's something that really on a comprehensive basis is only available in the province of Ontario.
That's going to change. I really feel passionate about that, and I think it's going to change over the next couple of years.
So now the organization is developing and learning, and they're hiring new interveners, they're improving hours, they're trying to get things better.
I'm really excited to see what is about to happen.
When deafblind consumers have the same advantages that I do.
When I could do things and I had to give up music, that's awful. And everything was negative. But as soon as I had intervention, I could turn some of that negativity, and I kept working at it till now. There's no negative in my life. There's nothing. It's all positive.
We are going to keep writing the deafblind history, and when we look back, I hope we have many more milestones that we're going to have accomplished.
So now we're into 2019, and again, we're now traveling throughout the country and we're giving people hope. We're trying to identify people out there who are living in isolation, who no longer have the services that they might have had 20 to 30 years ago, and we're giving them hope that we're going to bring services to them again.
CNIB Deafblind Community Services. Enriching lives, enabling independence. To learn more, visit deafblindservices.ca.